Okay, Mad Max Fury Road, George Miller, Hugh Keays-Byrne, Charlize Theron. I saw this movie last weekend as part of a little promo screening at the Alamo Draft House. George Miller was there, Hugh Keays-Byrne was there. They were interviewed by Robert Rodriguez. It was an incredible event. I think there was an embargo on reviews of this film up until a couple days ago. I think it was lifted early. People were getting nervous. Why is there an embargo on this film? That must mean it must suck, if they're not showing the movie to critics. Meanwhile, this film has been screening in preview screenings in Los Angeles and Europe, all over the place. Mad Max Fury Road has been screening. So at the beginning, the thumbnail sketch of this review, the synopsis: Mad Max Fury Road is one of the greatest action films of recent years. We have been weaned on the years of the Michael Bay and the whatever and the and robots and Iron People and all of this bullshit. No. This movie takes it back. It is the spiritual successor to Road Warrior. It is full of physical effects and stunt work and cars crashing in the desert, cars exploding, full of drama, incredible performances, wonderfully rounded characters, great villains. And it's all in that style of action and excitement in the tradition of those 80s action films of Road Warrior, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that type of thing. If you love that type of film, if that is your passion, then this film is going to be, it may become one of your favorite films very, 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 very quickly. Wanted to say really something quickly about the Alamo Draft House. The way the promo screening went very smoothly, went very well. The tickets were free. They were, the invite was emailed to you, and then you had to reply very quickly. I don't know how I did it. I mean, I know how I did it because I had that Eventbrite, that application set up. So I was just able to tap in the email, open up Eventbrite. I already signed into Eventbrite. Boom. So it was possible for the average folk to get the screening. Alamo has done these in the past 2 times. They've done these big promo screenings. One they did for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes not that long ago. They actually did it here at the Lakeline Alamo Draft House, which is Planet of the Apes themed. They did it for the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I usually stayed away from these because I think, I had the idea that they were kind of madhouses, that they were just in just full of people and waiting in line and all of the insanity that occurred at the Draft House before they instituted this policy of reserved seating, which most movie theaters in most parts of the world, we don't really need reserved seating. The Draft House, at least the Draft Houses in Austin, where there are these Austinites who make a career of standing in line. You need reserved seating because it's just when I moved here and started going to the Draft House around the 2011-2012 time frame. Well, 2012, that's when they instituted reserved seating, but you had to get to a movie an hour and a half early. Sometimes, but an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. I mean, there was these gigantic lines. I remember one time seeing Friday the 13th Part 3, gigantic line. Reserve scene solved that, and really the way that the whole Mad Max Fury Road screening, we went there, picked up a reserved seat. We weren't able to pick a reserved seat. We just picked it up. And off we were to the screening. And the Draft House is a dinner theater, so you can eat while the movie was, and I made the mistake of eating there. because I knew this was going to be one of those movies where I'm going to be on the edge of my seat. I didn't want to be distracted by food or a ticket at the end of the show. No, I messed up and I ate, and it was like my eyes were like just glued to the screen. And there were a couple moments where I took my eyes off the screen to just get something to eat or sign a check, and I missed something. And it was on that for the duration of the 2 hours. Just your eyes are just glued to the screen. Mad Max Fury Road begins with the character of Mad Max Rakutansky, this kind of dark, the man with no name, the lone samurai, this dark figure with an unknown tragic past. And very quickly this character gets caught up in the trials and tribulations of this civilization that has built itself in the desert wasteland. There is this warlord, Immortan Joe, played by Hugh Keays-Byrne, who's the toe cutter in the original Mad Max films. The Mad Max films play around with having the same actors play different characters in different films and things like Bruce Spence, who many people think he's the same character in Road Warrior as in Beyond Thunderdome. He's not meant to be. So Immortan Joe is this character in this kind of weird plastic battle suit where he has this respirator that's with teeth in the front of it, and he rules this area, and he lives at the top of this gigantic rock formation. He controls the people that live below by giving them water through this underground aquifer that he's been able to control. He calls it Aquacola. And this film starts out with Max being captured by this warlord and his war boys. He has all these young kids who are in white war paint with black eyes, and they live and die for this character. They worship the V8, and there's a lot of car worship in this film again. So Max is captured by these people, and the Imperator Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, who drives this tanker truck. It's called a war rig in the film. She's making a standard run for gas, and she goes off track and begins to escape with the warlord's 5 brides, his breeders, which he uses in order to impregnate and create new warlords to run his kingdom, his fiefdom. So he doesn't like that. He starts chasing after him, and Mad Max gets caught after this, caught up in this whole thing. And the film, it's been described as one big chase scene, and it really pretty much is, from the beginning of Mad Max being chased and captured to trying to escape, and then him getting caught up in the whole thing with Immortan Joe chasing after Furiosa and the brides. It's just really enthralling to see how this. But it's an action film, but there's also great characters. The character of Furiosa is almost kind of like a female Mad Max. Again, she's a character with this kind of dark past, and she's really is one of the lead characters. She vies with Max for the lead, and so there's just this great dynamic and great chemistry. She has this sexuality, this Furiosa character. This is a film with great sexuality, but G-rated sexuality, PG-rated sexuality, no overt nudity or overt sexuality in this film. She reminds me of like a Grace Jones almost, in those 80s films. She has that action, but also the vulnerability, but she's a much better actress than Grace Jones. I'm just saying that. So, but she has that kind of, that vibe and that energy, and I mean, Immortan Joe, Hugh Keays-Byrne he's created another classic villain in Joe. I mean, who just does very little, but is just that little that he does is amplified by volumes. and all the little characters, the five brides, how their characters are delineated, and they have all these little character moments. Some of them want to go back to Joe, some of them are trying to escape, and there's all these dynamics, and you could make there is all these kind of feminist readings of this film which could be made, given that unlike the other Mad Max films where gasoline is the commodity, the thing that they're chasing after, the MacGuffin. In the case of Fury Road, it's really the women. It's people are the commodity. They are the MacGuffin. They're what our lead villain is chasing after and trying to attain and trying to capture. Oh man, Immortan Joe, he's such a great. He is like as good as a Lord Humongous. He has the physical deformity and the oddness of Humongous, where you don't know really where the hell he came from, but you feel that he has this kind of very rich backstory. But you can just imply that backstory by the way the character looks. That goes with a lot of other elements of the film. During the Q&A, George Miller's Q&A that he did at the Draft House. That's actually online at the Draft House YouTube page. He talks about how every car, every vehicle had a whole gigantic backstory associated with it. And you really feel that. You feel that element of world building in this film. And I mean, the action is just so incredible. It's full of lots of humor, and there's all of these crazy stuff of people getting onto these vehicles and leaving them, walking around these vehicles while they're in motion, and it's just like, you think about how the hell they do most of this stuff. It's really, it almost goes beyond my my comprehension, the way I can rationally explain it. It's just almost kind of like you gotta see it. You gotta see some of this stuff. You gotta see some of the stunts they've been able to pull off. One thing I wanted to make really clear with this film is that it is an action film. It is an R-rated action film. And with most films these days, there is this tendency to either make a film very milquetoast and very boring, very bland. Either it's that, or it is extreme and just vicious and graphic and bloody and just sexual to the point of going crazy, And I mean, I can appreciate that artistically. I can appreciate the two poles on one level, on some levels, But it seems like with most films these days, it's like very polarized. It's very high or low. Unlike in previous years where you could do a film that had some vicious moments, but also had some humor and had some other things. Mad Max is that. It's a film where there are some vicious murders, there are some vicious effects, and there's some stuff going on. But the audience's face isn't rubbed in it. It's a movie that you can watch and you can go home and you don't have to feel like you have to take a shower. You know what I'm saying? It's very much in that classic style of Indiana Jones and Road Warrior and Mad Max and those the films from the heyday of the action in the 80s when things were all real and physical effects and stuff like that. And, I mean, this Mad Max Fury Road is just right up your alley if you enjoy that type of film. They built hundreds of cars and shipped them into the desert and made an incredible film that's been like 17 years in the making. George Miller talked about how he came up with this film in 1999. They were going to shoot it in 2001 with Mel Gibson, but the 9/11 caused the Australian dollar to tank. Nobody wanted to touch the project. Around 2010. They started to make it. They were going to make it in Australia. They were going to shoot in Australia, but they were around 2010, 2012. There were record rains in the Australia, and the deserts that they wanted to shoot on became these green valleys of of joy, which is kind of funny because it's kind of ironic because it's almost the reverse of what the characters in the film are looking toward a paradise. But they find a desert, and in the case of George Miller, he was looking for a desert and he found a paradise. But They ended up shooting this film in Africa, in Namibia, the same area where Dust Devil was shot, same country, area, region. Richard Stanley's Dust Devil, again, an obscure reference, but a great film. And when you shoot out there, when you shoot out there in Africa, there's nothing. I mean, it really has an effect. And this film, just every dollar is on the screen. It's, oh man, I don't know what more I can say about it. I'm babbling here, but this thing, man, great characters, incredible action, on the edge of your seat, the full all the way. Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, if you love film, if you're a lover, if you're an enthusiast of action cinema, then this is up your alley. An incredible film.